Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm Andrew Zarin. Of course, with me, as always, is Detroit Rock City himself, John Bubb. How you doing, John?
Word.
You know, it's really funny. I decided I was going to call you Detroit Rock City, and I saw Eric in the chat room wrote Detroit Rock City as soon as I said it. That is so bizarre. Isn't that bizarre? I mean, that's a strange thing to happen. But this is a show we talk about tech. We go through the top stories of the week. We apologize. The last couple of weeks, we've been MIA again. Our schedule has gotten really nutty here at the GFK Network. And the second we think things are settling, it just gets crazy again. I was on the 404 show 2 weeks ago. Last week, I was away. I was in San Diego. So it's been a lot is going on.
I see how it is. You just don't have time for the network anymore.
Listen, I'm trying my best.
You're abandoning us.
Yeah, and I mean, you're producing shows that you've never done before. You're doing 2 weeks in a row. You've done This Week in Radio Tech. You know?
I've done half the shows in the last 2 weeks.
You're a busy man.
Quit.
You're a busy man now. So, so hopefully we're going to be back to normal. Next week, actually, we're going to have a very busy week. So before we go into the news, let's go over the schedule. What the Tech is on as scheduled for next week. We're going to have everything's going back to normal, except for the fact that Tom Merritt is recording Daily Tech News Show from the GFQ studios on Wednesday. So
That's
if you're
awesome.
tuning in on a Wednesday at 4:30, you're going to see Tom Merritt here hanging out and doing his show. That's going to be a lot of fun. And there's a meet and greet. There's a meetup happening in the city after that. So if you're a fan of this show or if you're a fan of Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt, you could meet us. It's at the Peter. What is it? Do you know the name? It's the Peter McManus. The Peter McManus Cafe in the city in Manhattan.
Yeah, Peter McManus.
Yeah, Peter McManus Cafe. It's 7 p.m. on Wednesday, October 15th. I know there was some confusion over the date, so if you're in the city, come by, meet up. We'll have a couple of drinks. We'll hang out. It'll be a whole thing. You can watch me get drunk. It'll be a lot of fun. So I'm going to be there. I know a lot of other people are going to be there. Tom obviously is going to be there. So we'll have a lot of fun doing that. And then Thursday is the Apple event.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about that. Apple's holding another event. I guess this is what they do now. You know, they hold a couple events back to back.
It's strange because I'm not sure that just the way that they're scheduling things is strange now. They have so many products that they have to come out with now that they have to announce stuff every month now, it seems like.
I mean, but it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, why would you hack in everything at the same time? Spread it out a little bit. Do your iPhone announcement. That's big enough on its own. And then you do the rest of the product line.
I think they've really gotten into the habit of trying to get stuff out for the holiday season.
And which they have to. You know, think about it.
I can understand that, but it almost seems like it's overwhelming.
So this announcement is going to be October 16th.
If you think about this, though.
Yeah.
They could have easily have done without that stupid Apple Watch announcement stuff whatsoever, because that took up more than the iPhone 6 announcement.
Okay, but let's for us, right? We're both not crazy about this thing. Okay?
Is anybody crazy about the Apple Watch?
I think a lot of people are. But when you're talking about media perception of this product,
oh sure,
and the public perception of this product, they had to announce it. I mean, it was time for them to announce something, even if it's ready or not. Just because of the perception of this product, you had to announce something. You had to say something.
Apple can do whatever they want. Apple could have scheduled something in April and announced the watch. They could have done it in January and announced the watch, and everybody would have been all over it.
But you know what that says?
They didn't
also
have to attach it to the event in September.
But you know what? Did they? You know what? They wanted some sort of representation at Fashion Week. and I know they got it at Fashion Week, but did they have to announce it with the iPhone stuff, or could it have been its own announcement? That also says a lot about
With
the
as
product.
much time as they spent on it,
It
they could have done
practically
its
was.
own freaking thing.
Yeah, practically was its own announcement.
Because they rushed through the iPhone 6 stuff, and they didn't even mention OS X Yosemite.
Yeah, so OS 10 Yosemite, still there's no information on when it's coming out. This
Assuming
is the
we'll hear
fascinating
that
thing here.
at the October 16th event.
Yes.
Assuming.
I'm thinking they're going to, assuming, yeah. I'm thinking they're going to announce it that it's available that day for download because Apple doesn't do Thursday announcements. This is strange that they're picking a Thursday and not a Tuesday. It could be anything that the venue wasn't available or something as simple as that, but for them to do a
Aren't they holding
Thursday
it
announcement.
at their theater?
Is it their theater?
Yeah. It's
Okay,
at their
so-
theater, so.
So maybe it wasn't available. Maybe they couldn't book it in time in their home place. So it's going to be a much smaller announcement. And this is what I assume we're going to see. We're obviously going to see a new iPad. We're going to get the Yosemite release. Do you think we're going to get new iMacs or new MacBook Pros or a new MacBook Air? What do you think?
What was the saying on the invitation?
I don't know. There was an Apple.
Gosh, I forget it already, but it was something about it's been a long time, something of that effect, which could allude to a lot of things. It could allude to Mac Minis. It could allude to an Apple TV update that a lot of people have been waiting for because it's been a couple years since Apple has done anything.
It's been way too long. It says it's been way too long.
Hardware-wise, by the way. I mean, yes, the Apple TV has actually received several software updates, but as far as the hardware goes, it's been a good 2 years. And I think that's something that either they need to update it now or it's going to be a dead product.
Yeah. Well, the announcement, I just closed it. That's so funny. I had it open and I closed it. It says it's been way too long. So it could just be cynical, like they could just be like, it's been a long time. We haven't seen you guys. It could just be simple as that. Or they're actually talking about refreshing the Mac Mini or the Apple TV. If I were to guess something, okay, if I were to take my wild, like we had that what if that, okay, is Apple going to release the iWatch or is that Apple's going to do this? You know what mine is for this event? Not so much the Apple TV, not so much the Mac Mini. The big story is going to be Broadwell. Or people saying, well, what does that have to do with Apple? Intel's new chipset is a 14 nanometer chip, and it's fanless. It's a fanless chip. The Broadwell, I think it's the Broadwell M. The M series is their fanless series. I think it would be awesome if they put this thing in the MacBook Air. A fanless MacBook Air. You make it even thinner than it is. I think that would be the big thing. They ordered those 12-inch displays. They're going to a bigger display. Nobody's guessing a Mac. Well,
there's a rumor that they
Pro.
wanted to make the iPad Pro 12.9 inches.
You know what? I don't see that. You know what I do see instead? I do see a 12.9-inch bezel-less MacBook Air. That would be the way to go. Because remember, you have the 13-inch MacBook, you have the 11-inch. The 11-inch MacBook Air, you're using an inch on each side. I mean, I'm looking at the bezel on these things. It's the same bezel as my MacBook Pro. You're using an inch on each side. You could go up an inch.
The way Apple has been going for the last, year and a half is that we're not surprised by anything that they're announcing. It's the lack of what they're announcing that we're surprised at.
But they're also very tight-lipped about this.
Yeah.
Even with the leaks, John.
No.
I mean, even with the leaks, right? Let's
to a degree, yes.
Look at the iPhone leak. We knew exactly what this iPhone was going to look like for a good year. We have not. Yeah. We just started getting some leaks about the iPad Air, the iPad Air 2, whatever they're going to call it. We have gotten no leaks about a new form factor for their MacBook Pros. We've gotten no leaks for the Mac Mini. We've gotten no leaks for the Apple TV.
I think part of that is due to the fact that more people are interested in tablets and mobile devices, not necessarily MacBook Pros.
Sure. I mean, my theory is that they release all their information themselves. That they're leaking everything.
They could be doing that, but what I'm saying is they At this point, everything that they announce is not a surprise. So I'm not going into this event expecting to be surprised by anything. It'd be great if we were, other than the fact by them not announcing something, by them not announcing an update to Apple TV.
Yeah, the Apple TV thing has been a big mystery because they did state a while ago that this was no longer a project. You know, it wasn't a fun project. They actually want to make this into developed, thing. They don't want it just to become, what does Steve Jobs say, a hobby? Yeah, he called it a hobby. They said, well, it's no longer a hobby. It's actually a product that we want to grab, and we're noticing that people are using this, and even non-Apple users are enjoying the Apple TV because it's easy to use. They could update the Apple TV CPU. They could do so much with it. They could expand the applications on this thing, open up the App Store. These are things that people have been screaming for how long? How long has it been that people are saying, why can't I access my games on this thing? It could become a killer console. It could become even a bigger media consumption device. But they've been very slow to evolve the Apple TV.
They could. It's just one of those things where I'm not going in expecting a whole lot. What I'm expecting is, OS 10 Yosemite to be announced, available maybe that day or the week after, or the iPad and maybe a couple other things. I'm not expecting much from this, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Yosemite has gone.
The iPad's going to have the fingerprint sensor on it, which it should have had last year.
Yeah, that should have been on that. Yeah, so they're gonna get the fingerprint sensor. It's not gonna be a major.
It's gonna be thinner.
It's not gonna be.
They might add a new screen size to it, which I think is gonna be an abomination.
You don't want a 12.9 inch.
I'm very sour with Apple in terms of screen sizes right now.
You're not happy. Yeah, I mean, you went on that rant on Twitter about the screen size, and people are very upset at you. But I actually agree with you. I have a OnePlus phone, and this thing is a 5.5 inch display, same size display. And the thing that I was always concerned about the big iPhone was that because you have that Touch ID, it's going to require a larger bezel. And some people like it. Many people that I know that have gotten it are complaining about the screen size. It's not necessarily screen size, but the size of the phone, it's longer than it should be. There was an article that was posted about the biggest phones on the market right now, and this is as big as a 6-inch phone because of the bezel.
Well, let's look at it this way. Does Apple need a bigger iPad? No. Did Apple need bigger iPhones? Yes.
But who is their market for? Who are they trying to attract with a bigger iPad? The iPad itself, they have the mini, they have the regular iPad, and now if they go to a 12.9, so you're talking about almost a 13-inch iPad.
Right.
Right? I mean, you're talking about
it's going to be on the same cost as, a MacBook Pro, an entry-level MacBook Pro. So if you're already going for those type of people that are looking to do more of a productivity aspect to a larger iPad, what's the difference between them getting that and an entry-level MacBook Pro?
No, that's a very good question. What's the difference? Well, it's actually you're far more limited with the iPad than you would be with a MacBook Pro. You're probably going to pay another $150. So $500. So now you're talking.
Look, you're
$699 possibly for this thing. You're in MacBook Air territory.
Oh, I'm guessing at least $799 if there's an iPad Pro. $799 minimum.
Yeah, I mean you're talking about a pricey jump, and it's not a full-fledged computer.
Yeah.
You know what they could still do with the iPad? They could say that there will be an update that's going to allow split screening and stuff like that. And that'll be something pushed for the Pro model because it's a larger screen. You're going to be able to do the snapping like you can with the Surface. So something like that, I could see them talking about. It's just a lot of stuff. It's a lot of products. It's a lot of stuff, and it's a lot of what ifs. We don't really know what they're going to do. We really have no idea.
We do and we don't.
We do and we don't. Like, we know that there's an iPad.
There's that expectation of we've already had all these leaks, and judging by leaks for past events, pretty much these leaks are almost always on point. So the more surprises that we've gotten from these events has been the lack of what they haven't announced.
I'm curious, man. I really am. This this could possibly be a better announcement. There's so many
what
products.
this is what we do every single
Every
event. We have these wish list things that we're coming up with, these dream items, and almost never do they materialize. Because you just listed off a whole bunch of things that you want that, in all honesty, I am not expecting them to do at all.
Okay, so I'm going to go down a list, and you tell me if you honestly don't believe they're going to do. Are we going to get a refresh to the Apple TV?
No.
Okay. Are they?
I'd love one, but I don't see them doing it because we really haven't heard anything about an Apple TV update.
We could both agree that there will be a thinner, faster, blah 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 iPad. That's happening.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
iPad Mini refresh.
Sure.
Okay. Yosemite announcement.
Of course.
Okay. New Mac Minis.
Possibly.
Okay. Refresh MacBook Air.
Yes.
Retina MacBook Air.
Yeah, of course.
Well, MacBook Air is not. Remember,
I think there's gonna be some new Retina product.
I'm telling you, that 12.9-inch display.
We've seen leaks. Well, some's got a larger resolution because in the latest iOS and some of these updates that we've seen with OS X 10 Yosemite, we've seen stuff for a larger Retina display with 3x icons.
Yeah, so you're talking about a larger resolution. I mean, they did send out that thing for podcasters, right? What's the new resolution? 2048 by 2048.
Yes.
And the question is, well, what device are they catering this to? What's going to require 2048 by 2048? Because that's a pretty large image, and it's totally unnecessary if you have an iPad or an iPhone.
I think it's going to be for one of the MacBooks.
You think one of them? How about for the iMac?
Sure.
I have a real difficult time, and you tell me honestly. I'm not making a joke here, okay? I have a real difficult time with the Apple product names. Have you ever noticed that? I mean, we've been doing this show. We've been doing this for 5 years. I've been doing this for a living for 5 years. I still stumble on all the iNames. The iPad, the iPod, the iPhone, the iMac. I still stumble on all of them. I have a real difficult time with it.
Maybe it's just you.
Is it just me, or is it just annoying that all the products are named the same?
They're kind of phasing that out though now, aren't they? Because they're calling stuff more by Apple Pay.
I'm glad.
Apple Home Kit, Apple Health Kit.
But that makes so much more sense. I hate this iName. It's no longer 2010. Forget about the iName.
I don't like this kit prefix or postfix.
Yeah, like Apple
I
Pay.
think this kit thing is stupid.
Like Apple Pay, okay? They're moving. It would have been iPay.
Yeah, I don't think they need to call it iPay. I think Apple Pay is fine. They could have gone with either one.
It says a lot about the branding of the company, right? Because they really were separating themselves from the Apple brand for a while. The I brand became Apple. And now they're realizing, well, Apple's a strong brand again. We could adopt the Apple name, and now they're moving. Listen, the MacBook is a great name. The MacBook Pro is a great name. The MacBook Air, fine. And then you got all these products, the iPad and the iPhone. Okay, fine. We don't need any more eyes. No more eyes.
I think the iPad made sense, though, because they had the iPhone.
You know what's amazing, though? In hindsight, it did not make sense. Remember, everybody's like, what a stupid name.
Well, they thought it was going to be called, like, the iTablet or something like that.
No, the iSlate. The Slate.
Yeah.
That's what and they were, it was the funniest thing because they were announcing it, and HP jumped on the bandwagon right before the announcement. They panicked. They're like, holy crap, there's going to be a new market. Tablets are dead. It's all about the Slate because Apple's going to call it the Slate. And Apple calls it the iPad. So how far HP got with that. Since we're on the HP topic, John, great transition here. HP is splitting into two companies. This was long rumored a while ago. A couple of years ago, if you guys don't remember, HP put out a press release stating that they're killing the PC division. No more. They're not making any more computers. They're going to go into enterprise. They're going to go into cloud services and printers. And like a week and a half later, they're like, no, just kidding. Sorry. We're gonna continue doing this. Now we're seeing what the long-term vision was for this. they are now splitting the company into two. One is going to be enterprise. One is going to be consumer. The consumer side is going to focus on PCs, tablets, printers. And the enterprise side is going to focus on enterprise technology infrastructure, software and services business. So their cloud computing services, their support business, that's what they're splitting the company essentially just right down the middle and going in the direction that they kind of wanted to do. It's kind of like the IBM thing, you know?
Yeah,
I
absolutely. I think there's a lot of reasons for why they're doing this now versus before. I think they have more reasons to do it now than they did before. Because I think it was 2011 you're referring to is when they were under Leo Apather. I can't even say the guy's name. I know everybody has trouble with that guy's name.
Apotheker.
Yeah.
Apotheker. I don't know. And
they were thinking of trying to do that back in like 2011, but there was just the plan that they outlined for it then just really wasn't palatable.
It was a very strange period for them because at the same time that they were announcing that, they were also announcing this. They got into some weirdness with Microsoft, if you remember that. And they had bought WebOS from Palm, and they were saying how they're going to have dual boot operating systems. Every HP computer by 2011 or 2012 is going to have a dual boot option to go into WebOS or Windows.
Well, they pulled a Microsoft Windows Longhorn is what they did.
Yeah, essentially.
They had this grand vision that they just couldn't pull off. That's what it amounted to is they had, you know, and I think it was a great idea, great concept that they just simply weren't able to pull off. Like when Microsoft said that we're going to do Windows Longhorn and showed off all this demo stuff for things that didn't really exist and they couldn't really do.
Yeah. So it just...
I think at this point, though, the market is more palatable to them splitting up. They still are struggling with their PC and consumer facing part of the company. And so in order for them to, it's almost like a chapter 13 or whatever bankruptcy restructuring where they're actually splitting this company off. They're kind of jettisoning the more unhealthy part of HP into its own entity, where they still have the enterprise stuff, which is still pretty decent. So you're going to separate these two things to make it each company stronger in the long run, hopefully.
Well, it's kind of necessary. I mean, these all-in-one companies, you know, they expand. Now, where is the fine line with supporting computers to your enterprise division?
Yeah,
you know.
Well, it'll be interesting to see exactly what occurs as a result of this. But I think it's, like I said, it's a lot more. It's a different market, which is why this didn't happen in 2011 and why it's happening in 2014. The times have just changed so much, and they actually have somebody there that can correctly lay out a plan that shareholders are happy with. Because really, what's happening is shareholders are going to have stock in two companies now.
Is that what are they splitting the stock?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay.
The way that it was explained to me in one of the articles, they were talking about shareholders will actually have stock in both companies as a result of this.
Wow, so they're really independently running both. Okay. So, I mean, let's see what happens with this. It's an interesting step for the company, but for most people, it's not going to affect anything. It may actually help.
I think you can definitely make a comparison to, you know, IBM going all enterprise and jettisoning their consumer-facing business, which in the long run has been good for them.
Yeah, the days of the IBM ThinkPad are gone. But, I mean, the legacy's still here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good move for HP.
By the way, HP did sell WebOS. They sold it a couple years ago, and LG bought them. So LG now has WebOS, and they're integrating in their TVs. So WebOS is not dead yet, guys. Still hanging on. John, why don't you go into a story?
So one of the other big stories this week was HTC's announcements. They had an event, I think it was yesterday or the day before, where they announced a couple of new products, actually a few new products. One of them is the Re camera, which is a GoPro for the average person. I don't know if you saw this product or not, but I thought this. My first initial impressions of the HTC was that I thought this was a joke. I honestly thought that people were just making fun of the HTC event or the name, and they just created this little graphic of some weird product that they were just trying to make fun of HTC.
Yeah.
But apparently, this is
This
a
is the
real
product.
product, the HTC Re camera
So it's a GoPro competitor. It's
for consumers.
for consumers. It's going to retail for $200. It's going to be selling in retail outlets like Best Buy later this month. It does 1080p, 60 megapixel.
waterproof.
It's a 60 megapixel camera. It does 1080p, 30 frames a second, 4x slow mo at 720p for time lapses. Features what is it? One half inch CMOS sensor. What's a sensor? I don't have the thing. The notes.
Nobody cares about the CMOS sensor anyway.
I can't remember the size of the CMOS, but it's a super wide angle lens also. I think it's going to come in multiple colors. There's going to be an Android app and an iOS app. It's going to support live broadcasting.
It's interesting because you have to actually use the application with this. You can use the application on your phone as a viewfinder for this. There's no viewfinder on the device itself. That the Re camera works in tandem with the application for your Android or iOS phone.
Yeah.
Which is a little weird in my
Yeah.
opinion. Yes, they have a lot of cool stuff that you can do with the application, but I don't know. What are your thoughts when you initially saw this?
I thought it was a joke. I thought the design was a joke. There is a market for this. The GoPro has been very successful. Very, very successful. But the build quality of the GoPro is phenomenal. I was at Comic-Con yesterday, and we were doing some shooting with a GoPro while we were walking around the crowd. And I was very impressed at the build quality of the GoPro. This thing is designed to take a little bit of a beating. I don't see the Re camera by HTC being designed to take a beating. And you got to think about who's using a GoPro. The people using a GoPro are, sports. A lot of skiers, a lot of snowboarders, a lot of extreme sports, some filmmakers. It's on the go. I can't see strapping this thing on your helmet and taking a tumble and it not breaking, because remember, it's long. So if you fall wrong a little bit, you're gonna crack this thing. On the other hand,
And you're
it's
gonna look
$200.
kind of silly.
You're gonna look. I know it does look a little silly.
Well, no, I think if they had priced this at $99, it would have been okay. I can kind of see people buying this, but at $200, it's a much tougher sell for him because you can still get an entry level GoPro for $129.
The other thing I was thinking is you could do live streaming, but it's not independent, so it relies on an application. You can't even use this as, I guess you could use it as like a drop cam competitor also. That's what I'm thinking. It's more like, it's this on the go drop cam. Spy cam. That's what I'm going to use it. So I don't know. It's something.
They're marketing this to the average person that wants to kind of just have something on them at all times. That's a little bit more than I guess what you get in your smartphone for a camera, but it works with your smartphone. You're supposed to be able to pull it out for everyday events, family time, sharing personal events.
I mean, most people don't use a camera. Most people are using a camera on their phones. The reason why the GoPro's good and it works is because the quality is great and it's extremely rugged. You could do things with the GoPro that you cannot do with your phone. What can I do? What can't I do with my phone that I will be able to do with the Re camera? That's my question.
I don't think there's much. Really,
there's not much.
It's people that are serious about doing this stuff are really going to go for a GoPro. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
My other initial thought when I saw this product is, the flip cam is back.
Yeah.
You remember those little flip cams?
I have
that people
one.
were buying that were like a couple $100s.
I have one, and they were great.
Yeah. Well, now it's back in a different form without the LCD screen.
There were two of them. There was a flip cam, and there was the Kodak one, right?
I think there was a Kodak one, and then later we also had, I think, Paul mentioned this on the show the other day, the Sony Bloggy, I think it was called.
Yeah. Remember that was a
similar
thing? That was a thing.
I'm sorry, but none of these products continue to exist for a reason.
Yeah, and the GoPro does well for a reason because it's catering to an exact market that there's nothing else in that market to compete with. So since we're on HTC also announced a mid-range smartphone called the Desire Eye. And the gimmick with this phone, the selling point is that it has a front and rear facing 13 megapixel camera with LED flash on the front and back. So you're going to get, as far as they say, identical picture quality if you're taking a selfie or if you're taking a regular shot. You know, this may be enough to encourage everybody else to start putting a decent camera in the front of their phones. The front-facing camera has been neglected for years. You still have cameras that have a 2 megapixel or 3 megapixel awful sensor front-facing camera. This has been, I mean, for years. And now with this latest selfie trend, it became a hot word. It became trendy to use. Everybody now wants to get into this. Apple does a decent job. I still have yet to use a Android phone that has a really good front-facing camera. HTC, actually, out of all the ones that I've used, the HTC One M8 has the best front-facing camera that I've ever used. And I think it's like a 5 megapixel front-facing camera.
I think this is great. I really do, because I think this is something that it's high time that companies start putting a decent quality camera for a front-facing camera. I have my Apple iPhone 5, and it takes horrible front-facing pictures compared to the other side, to the back-facing camera.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why it's 2014 that I can't get similar quality in the front-facing camera as in the back-facing camera. So many people take selfies of themselves just for the fun of it. For the fun of it. And the pictures just suck because cameras suck.
But I mean, think about all the applications now that are based around this. Snapchat, for one, is single-handedly based on the selfie and is a very successful application. By the way, there's a major leak with Snapchat, which I want to talk about. I don't have it in the show notes, but this broke right before we went on the air, so I'll talk about that. But Snapchat, Instagram, I mean, more and more of these applications are kind of focusing on this aspect where you take a photo of yourself like this, boom, and you're done. It's very difficult to kind of maneuver around. The other thing they got to start doing is giving you the ability to press a button and take the photo rather than having to stretch your fingers on these phones. I have a very difficult time with some of these phones to take a front-facing shot.
I agree with that.
So that's another thing.
It's funny because, honestly, this is something that, in my opinion, BlackBerry should have jumped on. But because they were so enterprise-focused, and they kind of did initially. When I got my BlackBerry Curve 8320 back in 2007 or 2008, it actually had a little foil thing for you to take to see yourself on when you were taking pictures of yourself with the camera on it.
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
Even back then, BlackBerry had the notion of it, but never really did anything with it because they were too consumed with the enterprise world.
Since we're talking about selfies,
and you know what, this is actually, I know it's a mid-range product, but I'm taking a second look at Android stuff now after actually trying out the iPhone 6, because I'm still not sold on a 5.5-inch phone. I think 4.7 inches is a little bit small for me, and I think 5.5 inches is a little bit too big for me.
You know what's a sweet spot,
so now
John?
I'm taking a second look at Android devices that fall between those two.
This phone right here, the LG G2, is a 5.2 inch or a 5.1 inch, one or the other. And this phone is almost the perfect size. It's absolutely, I mean, the bezel's thin. You could see, I mean, the display is beautiful. It's a great looking phone. But since I've been using this one, the One Plus, I'm gonna hold them up next to each other so you get a kind of an understanding of, So look at the screen size difference,
Oh, there's a big difference there.
I like the One Plus more than this one now. This actually feels a little small.
Huh.
I just think it's a matter of getting used to. It's a matter of, John, if you go to the 4.7, right? You go to the 4.7 and you use that for a while. And then you go to a 5.2 and you use that for another year or two. The 5.5 is going to be more of a natural transition for you. You're not even going to, I'm talking about the iPhone in its current form factor with the gigantic bezel, It's not going to be oh my God, this is way too big experience because you've been slowly transitioning to that. I think a lot of people are going to have the experience currently with this larger iPhone that you're having, and it's a little bit the 4.7 maybe a little too small, the 5.5 maybe a little too big. So you're like, what do I do? Because you have it was that weird jump for you.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe I should go to the phone store and try out some other devices just for comparison, because this is one of the largest devices that I actually have tried out in person. But it is something that I've tried a couple of times, and I still think that 5.5 inches seems big in terms of being able to type on it. And just holding it in general, it just, I don't
It's
know.
awkward.
And then if you add in the case to it, so
Yeah,
that's
it's a
why
little
I'm taking a
awkward.
second look at devices like Android that are 5.2 inches. Because if you think about this, everybody thought that maybe if Apple had a bigger device, that was going to be the end all for people that wanted bigger devices. It was going to draw so many people back to the iPhone from Android that had left iPhone because it had such a small screen. I'm not so sure that necessarily is true, because they left a decent gap there for Android to cover all bases, because you can get an Android device in just about any screen size that you want between 4.7 inches and 6 inches now.
Yeah.
Whereas the iPhone, it's 4.7 or 5.5.
I think eventually we're just going to have so many different options, and the sizes aren't going to really matter. We're going to have whatever we want is going to be available. I mean, Apple may do a 4.7 and a 5.5 and a 5, and a 6-inch. They may go to a 6-inch and keep a 5.5. It's just that the transition for us right now is a little weird for a lot of people that have have an iPhone, because you're going from a 4-inch display to a 5.5-inch display. That 1.5-inch difference is a humongous jump. Humongous.
Yeah, I wish Apple had done, all right, well, we're going to do 4.5 inches, and then we're going to do 5.2 inches. That way it's bigger, but it's not too big on both sizes. Whereas, people that like the 4-inch size, they're going to move up a half inch, and it's not going to seem like anything to them.
I mean, listen,
they can easily get used to that.
They could
Go ahead.
still keep the 5.5. Your problem is not the display size; it's the phone size.
To a degree, yeah. I just think, I don't know. I have issues with it.
Well, we all have issues.
I'm not sold on the. I hate this, because I really want the iPhone 6, but I'm not sold on the sizes.
Yeah. Let's move on to a couple other fast stories. Amazon will open up its first brick and mortar store in Manhattan. This is according to CNBC and the Wall Street Journal. The online store Titan is gearing up for their first brick and mortar store in Midtown Manhattan in time for the holiday season. The move might seem a little out of character for Amazon, but this is the first time it's thought of moving out of the internet and into real life.
Well, they've done several things in the past where they really want to do same day delivery. They've had the Amazon Lockers thing that pretty much failed, and now they're going to do an actual store, which I think is a great idea for Amazon.
So, but how do they sell it? And this may be very successful for them. Are they going to sell the top 1% of everything that they sell in the Amazon, store, and just put the physical items in there?
Well, this is going to be very interesting to see exactly what products they have, because obviously we're assuming they're going to have all the Amazon branded products, the Kindle Fires, the Kindles, and everything else that they sell that's Amazon branded. But it's also saying that it's going to be more like a mini warehouse in the back. So you're going to have that storefront with all the Amazon stuff and maybe some other products, but you're also going to be able to have stuff shipped to the store, and it's going to be somewhat of a mini warehouse where they can ship and receive stuff in a warehouse right there in Manhattan, which is kind of an interesting idea.
I mean, I'm just trying to think, what would they sell? What is there? I mean, Amazon sells everything. They sell everything from toilet paper to, $5,000 enterprise grade hard drives.
I don't know how big the store is actually going to be.
I'm sure it's going to have to be a big store if they're going to have a warehouse in the back.
Well, the warehouse could be gigantic, and then the storefront could be tiny.
Yeah, Brian brought up an interesting point. What if they did the top 1% of the products that sell best in that market? So the New York City store will have a different store than the Chicago store, which they do that, by the way. A lot of retailers do that in clothing. you will have different items being sold in different stores depending on the region, because certain things may sell better. A cardigan may sell better in California than it does in
Yeah.
Texas.
Do you think it's going to be largely electronics?
Yeah.
Are they going to
and-
have like shoes and clothing and
No,
because
I
in a
think-
way, Amazon also has that entire separate website that they have for their fashion stuff.
You know what? Amazon is not good when it comes to clothing. And this is something that they're really missing out on, is selling proper clothing. If you order something, and Jessica's ordered a couple stuff on Amazon, a lot of the times it's misleading what the actual item is when it comes to clothing. Like bathing suits, not so much t-shirt because you get a t-shirt anyway, but if you're ordering a dress, or if you're ordering jeans, or if you're ordering a bathing suit, a lot of the times it is misleading because these are coming directly from the Chinese wholesaler or the Chinese manufacturer, and they're shipping out, and these things could be anything. You could get anything at this point. So they really have to revamp how they're doing the clothing, but they could play a major part in the clothing business on Amazon. I actually buy a lot of my t-shirts on Amazon because it's inexpensive, and I have, I'm used to it. My credit card's there. I don't have to go anywhere. I just hit
I
buy
think
and
they
I'm
do a
done.
pretty good job with shoes because I've ordered some shoes from them before.
I've
and
ordered sneakers, yeah.
And they have a nice, return policy when it comes to shoes because not all shoes are going to work for everybody.
Well, don't they own Zappos?
I don't know.
I think they own Zappos.
I think they're different.
I think Amazon bought Zappos. Yeah, it was sold to Amazon. It was acquired by Amazon for $1 billion. So, no, more than $1 billion.
I like the return policy for shoes, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, they understand some stuff, but I'm curious of what they would sell in this brick and mortar.
Yeah.
I'm really
You'll
curious.
actually get a chance to find out.
Yeah.
If you're there in New York.
I'll be there in New York. I'll be in Midtown Manhattan, so I'll be able to go and see it. Google is reportedly working on bite-sized app trials for Android. Did you read this article, John?
Yeah, I read some of this, and it's actually kind of disappointing because the way that they're talking about how this is going to work, it's going to be, they talk about these bite-sized trials, which is a little misleading because we always think about these trialware apps where you actually get these applications, and it might have some features locked out until you buy the full application. This is going to work a little bit differently, though, in the sense that it's more of a micro app than it is a trial, whereby these trial apps that they're going to have in the Google Store or want to have in the Google Store is going to be just downloading part of an application that you're interested in, and it's going to have maybe one or two features enabled that you want to check out.
Okay, but at
Or-
least
or
you could
that
tell.
the developer is saying that you can check out.
I mean, at least
And
you're
if
going
you
to be
like
able
that,
to tell.
then you can buy it.
Yeah, I mean, at least you're going to be able to tell if the application is a total piece of junk.
Yes and no. I kind of disagree with this model because I think it would almost be better to have a 3-day refund period.
Which they do.
I'm not.
I mean, they
I
do
think
have a
that's-
refund
that's
period.
much better to do that than it is to have these trials where you only get one or two features of an application that might not necessarily. Is this going to be the features that you select that you want to try, or?
Well, I
that's
mean,
the thing.
they have, comparing it to iOS, they have a much better return policy. I've downloaded applications, run it, and then said, wow, this sucks, and I've been able to refund it in the past. I rarely end up doing that, but I have been able to do it. So maybe they're working on something good here. They also, did you see the Google Hangouts desktop application that they released?
No.
So they released a desktop version of this. They released a desktop version of that and something else I couldn't see. So they had a couple announcements this week. I haven't tried because I'm on a Mac and it's not available on the Mac yet. I'm waiting to install it on my Windows machine.
I don't know.
Here.
Some of the stuff Google is doing, I'm just not on board with.
Hey, the
lately.
Snapchat story. Before I forget, John, I know you Snapchat a lot. Do you use a third-party Snapchat application or Snapchat itself?
I plead the fifth.
So you may be in trouble.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you want to go into it,
Yeah, so there was a leak on 4chan. Somebody posted on 4chan that he found a vulnerability and he had over 200,000 images from Snapchat. And it's not just Snapchat, the Snapchat application. It is third-party applications because the third-party companies are storing this data. They're not. It's not like how Snapchat
they
works.
really singled out a company called SnapSave, I believe.
Yeah, SnapSave, and there was another couple other ones.
There's at least a half dozen of these applications.
Yeah, because on Windows Phone,
and
for
apparently
example,
this,
on
yeah,
Windows
go ahead.
Phone, you need to use a third party because there was no application for a long time. I think it's still in beta. 6Snap was the application for Windows Phone. So essentially what they're saying, he's going to release this database in about 2 days, and you just put in the username and you're going to be able to find all these photos. John, will you be in trouble?
Nope.
I don't know.
I got nothing to be in trouble for.
I've gotten some late
You,
night-
on the other hand.
I'm fine. I don't really use
Uh-huh.
Snapchat, so I'll be okay.
Uh-huh.
I don't use a third-party Snapchat application.
The way I read this story is that none of this at this point is confirmed. SnapSave says that they aren't able to confirm any data breach. Snapchat says that they weren't breached. However, though, the SnapSave website now doesn't come up. It's just a white blank page.
Yeah, so did they pull the website?
So that's a question, but they aren't confirming that there has been a breach.
Yeah.
Nobody's confirming the breach yet.
Nobody's confirming it. So it's
This
just one
is basically
person.
just somebody on 4chan saying that they have a bunch of pictures with usernames
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
There's no concrete proof that there has been a data breach yet.
We'll find out in 2 days. What do you think?
I don't know.
Are you going to search me?
Probably.
What
What would I find?
I don't. Probably nothing. Me texting Paul Thurrott, me Snapchatting with Paul Thurrott. That's what you're gonna find. So it's third-party application. So if you use Snapchat and you don't use a third-party application, no worries. If you do use a third-party application, they're only saying that there's 200,000 images, so there's not much being done. So it's really not a lot of people considering how big the Snapchat user base is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nothing.
Windows 10 will ship later in 2015. It was announced actually that we were going to it wasn't announced, but it was rumored, and a lot of leaks were coming out that April was going to be the day for the next generation of Windows. And now we're saying it's going to be later in 2015. They're still hoping to make back to school. So probably August. We're just going to see maybe an early August, late July release of Windows 10. I don't think we spoke about the name change, John, but it's a little weird.
Because this news came out during the 2 weeks that we were off for a little while. So we haven't actually had a chance to talk about this.
Have you
And,
installed it yet?
No, because what I would want to do is actually install this on a real computer, and I don't have a real computer to install this on and mess around with it. So
I mean, you could set up a partition.
I could do that, but I don't really have the space for it because I have so much GFQ stuff. Unless somebody wants to buy me a nice 4 terabyte hard drive, and I could, have more space.
Oh, is that you hinting? 4 terabytes. Holy moly. What year do you think this is? 2022?
I have at least almost 2 terabytes of
Wow.
GFQ stuff.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, so we need to get you a hard drive. But I have yet to do it because, again, I have the same problem. I don't have a Windows machine that I could throw this on. I mean, I have a couple stuff here. I have this IdeaPad. I have an older ThinkPad. But I kind of want to install this thing on a speedy computer so I could get a proper experience, and I can say, wow, it actually is really functional. It's really good.
At this point, though, I think it's just a technical preview. There's going to be a lot of more changes coming down the road,
especially in
terms of-
January. January, we're
Yeah.
going to see a lot more changes.
So at this point, I don't think it's a big deal if we're not installing this because there's just going to be so many more changes between now and the consumer actual preview that we're going to get. So I'd actually just wait until that.
I mean, it looks
You can
nice.
see screenshots. It looks nice. I like the fact that there's now a real start menu and that you have modern floating apps. I think that's great because they just really did an awful job of Windows 8 for desktop users.
Yeah. Sadly, it was not a great experience.
I'm disappointed though that it's going to be mid to late 2015 before we get Windows 10. Because I'm ready to move on from Windows 7, but I'm not ready to move to Windows 8.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping for, late 2014, early 2015, and it doesn't seem like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we're going to have to wait much longer than I'd like to for Windows 10.
Yeah, I mean 2015 we're going to if it's coming out in 2015, it's we'll just wait another couple months beyond, April, but I think in January we'll get a good understanding of what this final version is going to be like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's see. John, one more story and then we'll wrap it up.
Okie dokie.
What do you think?
Sure.
Which one?
That's up to you.
I think we went through everything, actually. Oh, Facebook reportedly prepping an anonymous chat app. Facebook has drawn some criticism for mandating that you use your real names on its social network, which I'm not against, actually. I think it's a really good idea. But now they're saying that the company is working on a standalone mobile application that allows users to interact inside of it without having their real names.
They have a separate standalone application, standalone mobile application that allows users to interact inside of it without having to use their real names.
Okay, so this may not even be Facebook. So there's a lot of these applications like Whisper, and Secret. Have you seen those two applications?
Yeah.
Where you pretty much, it just goes based on your location and your contacts list. So it accesses your contacts list. And
which supposedly is hackable too. And it'll just go and it'll say like, oh, your friend posted a secret and you don't know which friend it is. Or most of the time, it's not really your friend. It's a friend of a friend's. Yeah.
Like I have the Secret app on here and I have Whisper and I've tried Whisper. Nobody's on there. The Secret app, I've never posted anything on there, but none of my friends have ever posted anything. It's always a friend of a friend's is posting something like,
and it's probably always made up.
No, it's like, today I questioned if my boyfriend really loves me. It's always like that same thing. It's always the same thing. So, people aren't really using it yet, but anonymous chat system, it's in.
You also have Facebook, which anonymity does not go hand in hand with Facebook.
Yeah.
It's not something that, even if they make this application, I'm not 100% convinced that there's not going to be some way that Facebook has who it is attached with secrets. There's no way that this is going to be 100% anonymous. And it's because it's Facebook. And who knows what Facebook would actually do with this data.
Yeah.
Because Facebook is an information company. They like to aggregate data on people. So this could be just yet another way for them
nothing is anonymous, guys. I don't care what anybody says. Nothing is anonymous. If you post something on the internet...
Snapchat isn't anonymous?
No. I'm sorry, it's not. Snapping, penis pics to people is not really anonymous. It's not. So... realize what you're doing, especially on Facebook, especially on Twitter. A lot of people, and I'm not talking about the sex stuff, but a lot of people act like assholes on these services. They do. And they think
yourself included?
No, I really don't actually, because I'm not anonymous. I don't do anonymity on the internet. I use my real name. So I don't have that luxury. And even if I did use my real name, people know kind of who I am. Because this is what I do for a living. I do a talk show on the internet. So for me, anonymity is a little less important than it may be for, someone else. I know for you, it was a big deal. You hated this whole, here's my life, I'm exposed thing to the internet, but you've kind of opened up because you become a personality on the internet and people now know you. It's different for us. But for the average Joe, I could kind of see that they want to use a different Twitter handle. They don't want to be Brian Monroe on Twitter. They want to be...
I wonder how many celebrities do this crap.
You know what? Who was it? There was a celebrity that recently they caught her using a fake account. I think it was Amanda Bynes.
Wonder.
I think it was Amanda Bynes. Like she she would go on.
Well, she's crazy to
I
begin
know she's
with,
nutty.
so.
I want to say it was her. It could not be her, but she went on there and she would like badmouth other celebrities, and she would badmouth herself on this other account.
That's awesome.
Well, you know what they do. A lot of celebrities, like publicists, they have fake accounts, and they'll tip TMZ and a lot of the paparazzo where a celebrity is through a fake Twitter account, and sometimes it's them. Like sometimes it's the actual celebrity, like tweeting the paparazzi saying, like, "I saw Britney Spears having a coffee culotta in the Commons in Calabasas." So, that happens. But after a while, no matter how good you are, you will slip.
Yeah.
No matter how good you are. So, always remember that. All right, John. It was a pleasure having you here.
Oh, gee, thank you.
Yeah. Would you like to do the plugs today?
So I got to remember all the spiel now.
Yeah,
you
there's
can
a whole
follow
spiel.
us online. I'm at Suncast on Twitter. Andrew is at Andrew Zarian. Go to our website at gfqnetwork.com. You can also support us on Amazon. If you go to Amazon or gfq.co/Amazon, you can support us that way. If you make a purchase through Amazon, we get just a little percentage of that. So I encourage you to do that. You can also go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. And if you go to the contribute page, we also have links for the UK and Canada as well. So if you're in those regions, we have links where you can support us. And I think that's pretty much it. Follow us, subscribe.
Yeah. Did you talk about Twitter?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. I wasn't listening. All right, guys. That's it for this week. We will be back next week. Take care and be strong. Bye-bye for now.